Good morning, YouTube. Welcome to today's installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs. I'm so happy that you decided to tune in today. We got some work to do outside today, and it's going to be on a car that this channel has never seen before. So I figure we'll do a quick tour of this car, and then we will get to work on what we need to do to it. The sun, of course, is already beaming down, but the clouds are coming in, so that's good, because I'd rather not be burnt to a crisp today like I usually am when I'm out here working. But hey, let's completely jump that fact. Let's get to the car instead. And this may very well be the oldest car I think that I've ever had the opportunity to work on, so I'm very excited. Yeah, it is a 1995 Pontiac Grand Prix SE trim. This is actually my dad's second car, so you guys never saw this car. I never presented it to the channel, but when my dad was still driving, semi-truck, he'd be gone for most of the week, so he ended up getting this car a few years ago, and then that way he would either take this to the yard where his truck was, or he would take the Cobalt. You guys have seen the Cobalt, but we've never seen this one, so it's just a secondary junk car, just a backup car that my dad's had. She's in rough shape. I'll tell you what though, I still love it. I love, these old cars. I mean, you guys know me though. I'm a huge Pontiac lover. But yeah, she's pretty rough. Like I said, it's just a junk car as a backup, and you can see it's it's got Velcro attempting to hold the gas door on, but it's obviously rusting. That's honestly the really sad part about this car is the rot. Like the whole rocker molding there is completely gone. But this generation Grand Prix, this was pretty awesome. I think the original body design for this generation started in 1988, and in 1994 is when they updated the front end to have this large looking headlight assembly here. The interior had a little bit of an upgrade. Most of the side I think stayed the same, maybe some body cladding differences. It's got the wheel covers, which we're gonna have to take off. We're doing front brakes on this today, by the way, so front brakes, and we're doing an IAC, an idle air control valve. My dad says it idles kind of high, and it might. It stays around 1,000 RPM when the car's in park. Usually when it's warmed up, the RPM should be a couple hundred RPMs lower. But yeah, she's rotting away, unfortunately. The inside's really not all that bad. It's obviously, like I said, it's just a junk car, so it doesn't really get all cleaned out or anything. There's cigarette ash and stuff, but it's got power everything, pretty much. Power windows. It looks like this may have been replaced at some point in its life compared to this. So power door locks, power windows, manual mirrors. The old GM fabric with some multicolored stitching. Still somewhat pretty soft, Could definitely, use a good cleaning. Love the old school dashboard layout. Back seat's not that bad. Back seat looks very plush. It looks like nobody's ever really sat back there, but I'm pretty sure they probably take the dog for rides in this car. Look, ashtrays in the doors. You don't see that anymore. Manual seats. Here's the kicker. This car only has 86,000 miles on it. Ain't that something? The car sat for most of its life. Apparently my dad bought it off of the original owner, who happened to be an elderly woman who only took it to so many places, you know, to the store, back, church and back, whatever. So the car never really got driven a whole lot. I think when my dad bought it, he said it only had about 10,000 miles less than what this has on it. So that was quite a steal. And, you know, cosmetically it was already kind of coming apart. So that's, you know, obviously inevitable. Start it up real quick. Yeah, so you can see right now, just starting it up, it's hovering at 1,000 RPM. So that's a little high. Eventually, at some point during your driving, the service engine light comes on. It's not on right now, but it makes its appearance. This is the first time I've actually driven this car. It actually drives quite well for how much it rattles and all that stuff. It handles well. It's got the manual lights. Can't tell if all of the orange backlight is there, but it might be. It does not have cruise control. Has a column shifter, emergency hazards. Over here, it's got the original Delco cassette player. And look, the backlight still works. We turn it on. Don't want copyright, but the sound system actually sounds pretty decent. As in Pontiac tradition, it's missing knobs. Does not have working AC at the moment. Ashtray, of course, full of ashtray cigarette ashes and such. Aftermarket console there. This armrest comes down, so it's got an armrest, and it opens up to a cassette holder from the looks of it. So airbag, I think 95, either 94 or 95 is the first year for the airbag as a standard feature. But yeah, it actually runs pretty well. We'll take a quick look under the hood. Hood releases over here. We're gonna have to be under there anyway. Sounds pretty quiet right now. It's got the 3100 sequential fuel injected V6. You guys know me, I kind of know this engine like the back of my hand. And of course, you know, we've got some leakage. Looks like the power steering pump might be leaking a little bit there, running down the side. No sign of intake gasket failure as of yet. Had a couple of brake lines done, it looks like here. I don't know what this is supposed to go to, but intake air temp sensor. Oh, well, that's interesting. Maybe that's why our light is on, or that could also have to do with the idle. Maybe it doesn't know what the temperature of the outside air is going in there. I'm going to plug that back in and see what happens, but that's very interesting that that is unplugged. Someone's been messing at some point with things they shouldn't be messing with. That IAC sensor is here, by the way. So if we do end up changing that, that is going to be it. Yep. No cruise control, I forgot. I can't use that. There we go. Sounds pretty good. Only 86,000 miles on this engine, man. I love it. Well, gas door came open. Yeah, pins look okay there. That's weird. I'll see what happens. We'll leave that plugged in. Alright, so now here's the fun part. We have to find a sturdy place to get this car up off the ground. And like I said, we're doing front brakes only. We're going to do pads and rotors. we might be making an additional trip to the parts store because I guess for this generation Grand Prix, this year anyway, I guess, you can either have rotors that are about 10-inch in diameter, or you can get rotors that are about 11-inch in diameter, and I don't know which ones these are. I read online as they were getting ready to go into the 1996 model year. They were the 11-inch ones. So I don't know. This car's build date was December of '94. So I can't confirm if that's, you know, the crossover or not of the rotor diameter, but I got the 10-inch ones to start off with. So once we get everything apart, we'll measure all that and we will see if that's going to make, you know, a difference. I don't need that IAC right now. Ooh, the sun. I really need to get some sort of shelter out here. Gotta stay hydrated. So yeah, so obviously if these are 11-inch rotors on here, then we'll go back to the parts store and take the other ones back and exchange them. So let's go get the tools, go get the tiny jack off the porch, and let the sweat show begin. Alright, so we got our jacking place. Kind of the same spot where I do the Grand Am, right at the end of the cradle there. Yeah, this poor girl, man. Look at this. Oh my gosh. What a shame. What an absolute shame. I thought the Grand Am was bad. So, from what we can see, now that the front's a little bit off the ground, that's hot. So it looks like it's a little wet, as to be expected. So we got some minor fluid seepage, nothing that's hitting the ground, so nothing real major at this point. Oh, so much crust. There's a chance that these could be the original brake pads and rotors behind this wheel, which could suck. It doesn't look like the strut's leaking. I don't see anything weird with the strut. Paint on the spring is obviously coming, you know, flaking off a little bit, but alright, so hopefully I brought everything up that we need. Whew. Let's take the wheel covers off. These, yeah, those shouldn't come off. These wheel covers are in great shape, other than the brake dust. I mean, oh, barely any defects. Seriously, if this car was not in as much rusty condition as it is, I would totally make my dad an offer to buy this car off him. Because you guys know me and my Pontiacs, especially, you know, this particular time frame, this era. Oh, that wheel. It still has glossy paint on it. It's not all rusted. What? Mind blown. Okay, I brought a fan out in case you guys, you know, the noise, so sorry, but I need it. Okay, so yeah, rotor, definitely got a lot of rust, not a whole lot of unevenness from the looks of it though. Looks like it was, you know, there's tiny grooves, nothing too drastic, a lot of rust there. Tie rod boot looks awful. Double piston calipers, nice. Those are probably the 10-inch rotors. Those don't look all that big. I think we may have gotten the right size rotor. If not, oh well. All right. Still some pad. Don't look that bad from there. Can't see the backside. Let's hope that we can get these off. Oh, hopefully this will go okay. All right, so far, I forgot to turn the camera on for one. But so far, our caliper bolts themselves appear to be a little stuck. So we're on a good path so far. Oh boy. Yeah, those usually are not that tight. There we go. A few taps of the hammer. Whew. Well, like I said, there's a chance these are the original. Who knows? Oh wow. Definitely gonna have to grease that up. So far, this is going great. We got our caliper off. This pin is completely seized in the caliper. So at least we were able to get the one out. I was able to bend the caliper down some. Kind of wish the bottom one was the one that could have come out, because it's easier to flip it upward and leave one pin inside. But yeah, it is not going anywhere. But it's okay, because we got this off. So our pads are in the caliper. They go into the caliper from the looks of it. The pads really aren't that bad. There's still quite a bit of left in there. There is a lot of heavy pulsation with this car though. The rotor's already loose, so that's good. Don't have to worry about that. So you have to try to get these out, and that's a weird design there. The back just come out. There's a date on here. It's kind of worn off though. So these were replaced, obviously. ADW is a brand of pads. 8/8 of something. That's where it gets cut off. Yeah, pads really not all that bad, but this looks like it has to. Ugh, that's got to be pried out of there. I'm gonna have to probably go get a pry bar to get that out. Oh man. I don't see this happening. Oh man, I don't see this happening. Torques. And they don't feel good. They don't feel good at all, so torques, I was not expecting that at all, guys. I was expecting regular hex head bolts. But no. Oh boy. Alright. Let's go see what we can muster up. Well, everyone, I have failed this time. Well, okay. Maybe not necessarily failed, but this is definitely not going the way that, no, I take that back. It is kind of going the way that I thought it was gonna go, but I've gotten to the point where here at the house, at least, I can not move any further. So I took a break and went to the tool store, bought us a T60, which is what the caliper bolts are, and got my 1/2-inch ratchet that I have at work, which luckily I brought it home, but even that is not doing any good. These caliper bolts are seized in badly, and I cannot get them loose with stuff I have here at the house. If I had a torch or something, maybe, But for here at home, I'm out of options. So I actually called my dad, and quite honestly, he is not planning on keeping this car a whole lot longer anyway, maybe for like the next month or so. He's retired now, so they only need one car, but he was going to either sell it to somebody who wants to fix it up, or he's going to junk it. It might be worth junking, to be honest with you, because there's too much rot everywhere. But needless to say, I called him up, told him we got some problems here, and you know, I told him the brake pads themselves really aren't bad. So it's not like we're in desperate need of brakes. They're gonna pulsate like crazy still, but if he's getting rid of the car, I told him honestly, it's not worth it. The brakes are fine for you to drive until you get rid of it, which, like, again, is going to be kind of soon. So yeah, let's just let's skip out on the brakes. So, because even that, I don't even know how well that's going to come out. I've never seen that before. What an interesting setup that GM had back in the day. Alright, so yeah, basically I'm going to throw this back together and get the wheel and stuff back on, and then we're going to see how it runs with that air temp sensor plugged in. See if the idle changes at all, and if it doesn't, then my dad still wants me to throw an IAC in it. So I guess that's where we stand with this. So I brought all of this stuff out here for nothing. But again, there's nothing I can do here, unfortunately. My resources are limited. So we're just gonna skip out on this. Alright, so let's just get the wheel cover on. Got the brakes back together. I got the wheel torque to 100 foot-pounds. I'm pretty sure that's probably what it is. Most of these are just 100 foot-pound cars. 19mm lugs. No need to tighten the wheel cover all that tight. And I'm kind of bummed out. I was looking forward to actually do something with this car. But here at home, there's only so much that I can do. And unfortunately, with this car being as old as it is and with as much rust, then I can't do anything about this one. Alright, let me get the rest of this stuff cleaned up real quick, and it's been sitting, obviously, without being run, so we'll see how well it acts with the intake air temp sensor plugged in. Whew, okay, now that that's all cleaned up. Oh, let's give it a start and see what happens. So I'll give it a few minutes because it's probably still, you know, it's been sitting, it's obviously cold. It's not at operating temperature. And we'll see if that changes any. Alright, so our temp's climbing. Engine, it's still at 1,000. Just heard a rattle come on from underneath the hood. It almost sounds like the AC compressor, like in the Grand Am, my Grand Am. Maybe that compressor's got the same issue that mine does. The air doesn't work, so I can't turn the air on to see if it goes away. Kind of sounds like it. I think we're going to change an IAC. Oh yeah, hear it? AC compressor. Alright. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do the IAC. I mean, it's getting close to operating temp, and it's already been on a few times today, obviously, so it probably should be running a little bit slower at this point. Man, a scan tool would really be nice right about now. But unfortunately, like I said, I don't have one that's going to read this OBD1 system, unfortunately. Second gear start? No way. What? Huh. Never knew that was a thing on these cars. Okay. So, we'll just shut it off. And let's go see what we need for the IAC. I guess we can go ahead and just disconnect this. Pull the prop, or a little tab there. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Get it past that. There we go. Alright. We disconnected the connector from here. And it looks like there's two Torx bits, which are T20s. Could have brought my ratchet up, but these were out from the last time I used them, so I was like, try that. Don't want to lose the screw. I don't think the new one came with screws. Alright, so there's one. The other one is a little further in. Trying to go under the wiring harness and the fresh air tube, crankcase vent tube, which I might have to unplug anyway because I don't know, it's probably going to be in the way of us removing this IAC. Okay. So know that that's loose. Oh. There we go. There's an O-ring that came off. Make sure you get the old O-ring out of there. Yeah, I'm going to pull this out carefully. Hopefully it didn't come out of the back valve cover. Doesn't look like it did. I'm also going to unplug this sensor below it also, so that way the wire is not across. Let's pull that out of the way, get that up out of there. Here we go. So there's the old IAC. It's obviously basically just a little motor that, you know, winds in and out. So like if it's open more, it's allowing more air to come in through the intake, and then once the engine is warmed up at proper temp or whatever driving condition needs to be met, it'll close off an additional opening in the throttle body and just restricting more air, obviously lowering the RPM and getting the engine to its proper idle. So this little guy here is probably just, you know, burnt out or stuck or something. The O-ring, obviously, like I said, did come out, so you want to make sure you don't end up double gasketing it. So there's that. So make sure the O-ring on the new one is, you know, on there pretty well. And we're going to stick this in with the connector side facing us. Much like that. Get our screws. Do the outside one first since it's easier to get to. Try to get the back one in without dropping it. It's kind of tight back there. Got it. You know, I still can't believe for a 95 Grand Prix that the hood shocks are still functioning perfectly fine. These screws probably don't have to be all that tight. They're very small. And obviously the IAC, I think, is plastic. Maybe, maybe not. It might not be. I don't know. But either way, you don't want to end up stripping out the holes in the throttle body for this thing. Snug it up. That's it. Alright. Alright, so there we go. Get it in there. Alright, click on. Push this thing back into the intake tube. Plug in the IAC. And I want to make sure that that intake or that fresh air tube is in the valve cover. And I don't think it popped out. Yeah. Amazingly enough, I don't think it did. That's good. Okay, let's start it up now and see what happens. Really high. Hold on, I'll give it a minute or so. That's not really what I was expecting for it to do. Hopefully there's not like some sort of calibration that's got to be done. Because, again, I don't have OBD1 anything, so... There we go. That's a little bit better. Alright. And it's still up. Alright, so it's starting to come down a little bit. I think I'm just gonna let it run for a while, and we'll see if it changes anything. I mean, see, now it's going up, so I wonder if the PCM is maybe making adjustments, seeing that there's a new IAC there, and now that the temp sensor's plugged in, even maybe all that stuff is starting to take account. See, it's going up, and then it's gonna come down some, and then it's moving up some, so we'll let it do its thing maybe and go from there, see what happens. If it don't run out of gas first. That's also a possibility. Alright, so I let it, it was running for a while. I shut it off and I just turned it back on. It's a little under $1,000. A little. It's running the lowest that it has been, from the looks of it. Yep. I'm gonna get ready to take this car back, so I think we're pretty much gonna wrap it up here. It's not running erratic like it was, when we first put that in, so. Yeah, if this were OBD2, I feel like this would be a whole lot simpler. A year too late. And back at $1,000. Back at $1,000. That fell a little bit. It's falling a little bit. Oh yeah. It's getting better. Not by much, but I mean it's technically under $1,000 now, so yeah. It probably just needs to see PCM data changing and whatnot. Alright, I'm going to shut this hood and let's go try to take our brakes back. Hopefully they give me my money back. There we go, that's looking a little bit better. She just needed time, that's all. Yeah, overall, like I said, it drives pretty well. Wheels off to the right a little bit. Doesn't really seem to be pulling or anything, and overall, it's really not a bad ride. There's a lot of rattles and stuff, obviously, because the whole underside of the car is coming apart. The mirror vibrates like crazy, apparently. It's overall a really nice car. With only 86,000 miles. Too bad I couldn't do all of the stuff I wanted to do to it. I'm going to run out of gas. Alright, so I'm back from the test drive, and yeah, it's in gear. The idle is where it should be. Put it in park, and that's about where it should be. So I think that issue has been resolved. The service engine light did not come back on yet. It was usually on by now, so that's kind of cool. So I think it's okay. I guess I'll see what he's got to say about it, but I think we're done with it. So I'm gonna take it back now. I gotta get my Grand Am keys because I left the Grand Am at his house, so I gotta get my keys real quick. And that's gonna be it. All done. I wish I could have done the brakes. I feel bad that I couldn't do the brakes, but it's honestly probably not worth it if he's getting rid of the car soon anyway. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I thought it was pretty cool to we got to actually document an older 90s Pontiac because I love my Pontiacs. So I thought it was worth it. I thought it was pretty cool. And overall, I do think that this car is pretty neat. I just feel really bad that it's in as rough a shape as it is, which is really unfortunate for 86,000 miles, but I guess that's what happens when most of your life is sitting somewhere where it probably shouldn't be sitting. In like gravel or a yard or something like that. But yeah, so that's it. I'm going to call it a day. If you enjoyed this, thumbs up, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Again, thank you so much for watching, and take care.